Ecotone. An ecotone is a transition area between two biological communities, where two communities meet and integrate. It may be narrow or wide, and it may be local. The zone between a field and forest, or regional, the transition between forest and grassland ecosystems. An ecotone may appear on the ground as a gradual blending of the two communities across a broad area. Or it may manifest itself as a sharp boundary line. There are several distinguishing features of an ecotone. First, an ecotone can have a sharp vegetation transition, with a distinct line between two communities. For example, a change in colors of grasses or plant life can indicate an ecotone. Second, a change in physiognomy, physical appearance of a plant species, can be a key indicator. Water bodies, such as estuaries, can also have a region of transition, and the boundary is characterized by the differences in heights of the macrophytes or plant species present in the areas, because this distinguishes the two areas' accessibility to light. Scientists look at color variations and changes in plant height. Third, a change of species can signal an ecotone. There will be specific organisms on one side of an ecotone or the other. Other factors can illustrate or obscure an ecotone. For example, migration and the establishment of new plants. These are known as spatial mass effects, which are noticeable because some organisms will not be able to form self-sustaining populations if they cross the ecotone. If different species can survive in both communities of the two biomes, then the ecotone is considered to have species richness. Ecologists measure this when studying the food chain and success of organisms. A food chain is a linear network of links in a food web starting from producer organisms, such as grass or algae, which produce their own food via photosynthesis, and ending at an apex predator species, like grizzly bears or killer whales. Lastly, the abundance of introduced species in an ecotone can reveal the type of biome or efficiency of the two communities sharing space. 6. Because an ecotone is the zone in which two communities integrate, many different forms of life have to live together and compete for space. An ecotone is often associated with an ecocline, a physical transition zone between two systems. The ecotone and ecocline concepts are sometimes confused. An ecocline can signal an ecotone chemically as pH or salinity gradient, or microclimatically hydrothermal gradient between two ecosystems. Therefore, an ecotone can create a diverse ecosystem. An ecocline is a variation of the physiochemical environment dependent of one or two physicochemical factors of life, and thus presence-absence of certain species. 9. An ecocline can be a thermocline, chemocline, chemical gradient, halocline, salinity gradient, or pycnocline, variations in density of water induced by temperature or salinity. Ecocline transitions are less distinct, less clear-cut, have more stable conditions within, hence a higher plant species richness. An ecotone describes a variation in species prevalence and is often not strictly dependent on a major physical factor separating one ecosystem from another, with resulting habitat variability. An ecotone is often unobtrusive and harder to measure. An ecotone is the area where two communities interact. Ecotones can be easily identified by distinct change in soil gradient and soil composition between two communities. Ecotone transitions are more clear-cut, distinct conditions are less stable, hence they have a low species richness.